Okay, so now we're going to be solving absolute value equations. And with absolute value, it's these two lines. That's the symbol. Instead of writing, math people were very lazy. We don't want to write out the word absolute value. So we use these lines. And I like to make them long so that they won't be confused with the number 1. Now remember that we interpret the absolute value of x as the distance from the number x to 0 on the number line. So if we want the absolute value of x is equal to 5, that means that x can be -5 or x equals +5. Why? Because here's 0. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Here's 5, and over here is -5. They have the same distance, and remember, distance is always positive. So the distance from -5 to 0 is 5, and the distance from 0 to 5 is also 5. And that's what the absolute value is. And we're going to use this to solve absolute value equations. We have the absolute value equation, ax plus b is equal to c, is equivalent to ax plus b equals -c, and ax plus b equals c. So we're going to break up the equation, the absolute value, into two equations so that we can undo the absolute value. We're going to say that the inside, so this is the inside of the absolute value, we're going to make it equal to -c, and we're going to make the inside equal to +c. So this is the only number that changes into a negative and then into a positive. So let's take a look at example 1 right here. What the heck is Ms. Rodriguez talking about? So we have the absolute value of 3x minus 7 is equal to 12. We got to get rid of the absolute value, these little lines. And the way you do that is by creating two equations. The first equation, so this one stays the same. That does not change. 3x minus 7 equals -12. And then 3x minus 7 equals +12. This remains the same. The inside remains the same. That does not change. What changes? That outside number is what changes. And now you have two equations that you can solve very easily. So I'm going to add a 7 here. And that's going to be 3x is equal to -12 plus 7 is a -5. Divide both sides by 3. So I'm going to divide both sides by 3. And it's x equals -5/3. So that's one answer. Just leave it in simplified fraction form. And then over here, I'm going to add a 7. Add a 7. So that's going to be 3x is 12 plus 7 is 19. And so now divide by 3. So x is equal to 19 over 3. It's okay if you get answers that are fraction. There's nothing wrong with fractions. Okay? So you have two answers. Every time you solve an absolute value equation, you're going to get two answers. Okay, let's move on to example 2 right here in the back. Okay. So first of all, the absolute value is not by itself. You have a +12 right next to it. Before we break it up into two equations, you have to move the 12 to that side, the right side. And so now I have the absolute value of 5x minus 3 is equal to 4 take away 12 is a -8. Now the absolute value can never equal a negative number. It can only equal a positive number. So over here on this part, you have to make sure you put that this is a positive number. Then you can break it up to a negative and then a positive. But if it starts off with a negative like it did right here, this one has no solution. Okay. Over here, is the absolute value by itself? No, you have a 2 right there and a -5. So that means I am going to move the 5 first. You undo the subtraction by doing an addition. So 2 absolute value of x minus 1. Notice that I draw my lines that are the absolute values long, so they won't be confused with the 1. 1 plus 5 is 6. Okay, now I'm going to, once I have that, I'm going to divide by 2 to get rid of that 2. So we have the absolute value of x minus 1 is equal to 6 divided by 2 is 3. Okay, notice that I keep writing the absolute value sign, these long lines. Once I break it up into 2 equations, I no longer write those absolute value signs. This is positive. The absolute value by itself, I'm going to make it into 2 equations, negative 3 and positive 3. Notice that the inside stays the same. We're going to add a 1. So we're going to have x equals negative 2. And then we're going to add a 1 over here. So x is equal to 4. Okay, 2 more examples. The absolute value is not by itself. So I'm going to subtract the 2. And I have negative 4, absolute value 2x plus 3. Absolute value, negative 18, negative 2 is a negative 20. Notice how long I write my absolute values. Now I'm going to divide both sides by a negative 4. So then those cancel. Absolute value of 2x plus 3 is equal to positive 5. See that? Negative divided by a negative, it ends up being a positive 5. So now I can break up my absolute value into 2 equations. One with a negative, 2x plus 3 equals negative 5. And then 2x plus 3 equals positive 5. And so I want you guys to go ahead and keep on working here. That's going to be a 2-step equation equals negative 8. So x is equal to negative 4 when you divide by 2. So x equals negative 4. That's one answer. Subtract the 3 over here. That's going to be 4. 5 take away 3 is not 4, sorry. 5 take away 3 is 2. Divide by 2. So x is equal to 1. Okay, so now I want you to try this one. So remember, you're going to subtract the 7 first. See what happens, okay? Try this one on your own. Bye-bye.